At 18, she walked into the studio, shoulders squared, as if carrying both invisible armor and an open heart. Every camera flashed, every whisper stilled, drawn toward the daughter of a whirlwind woman whose name still rings in tabloids and courtrooms. Dannielynn Birkhead wanted one thing: to tell her own story, one shaped by loss and hope. Not the model's daughter, not headline fodder, but a teenager ready to emerge from her mother's shadow and claim herself. She didn't grow up on red carpets or in lavish hotels. Instead, her childhood unfolded in an island home where the sun painted every wall gold at dusk. There, her father, Larry, focused on teaching her the quiet rhythms of ordinary life. Morning math drills over pancakes, afternoon language exercises, evening stargazing with whispered butterfly tales that linked her to a mother she barely remembered. Those moments planted roots stronger than any tabloid headline could ever reach. Yet whispers of Anna Nicole's tempestuous life never entirely faded. Even children at school knew of an aunt they never met, a story shared at lunch tables. Questions emerged. How could a beautiful woman rise so high, then tumble so far? Answers hovered in courtroom transcripts and spreads. But Dannielynn never felt defined by those distant dramas. She learned early that truth thrives beneath sensational headlines, a fact guiding her curiosity and fueling her passion for forensic puzzles. Her own beginning was wrapped in both celebration and sorrow. Arriving mere moments after her brother Daniel's tragic passing, Dannielynn entered a world that already knew heartbreak. Stories of her brother's death and her mother's fierce courtroom fight for inheritance hovered like storm clouds. Yet in contrast, her first breaths symbolized survival, timeless hope. Her father's gentle embrace became the anchor. From her earliest days, she carried legacies, one of profound loss, the other of undeniable perseverance. Growing up, she indulged in secret teenage rites, sleepovers, TikTok dances, and excited squeals at amusement park drop towers. On Halloween nights, she draped herself in elaborate costumes, delighting in the playful anonymity masks brought. Despite global fascination with her surname, she clung to inside jokes with close-knit friends, giggling over shared memes instead of bitter gossip. Behind every laugh and confident whisper lay a determination to define herself not by inheritance, but by moments of genuine joy. At school, she surprised teachers with her inquisitive mind. Science fairs became laboratories for detective work as she applied forensic techniques to mysteries of her own creation. Simultaneously, she dove into Japanese language and culture, memorizing kanji before lunch and practicing tea ceremony steps in spare minutes. Her ambition was clear: untangle complex clues, speak multiple languages, and build something meaningful. That resolve contrasted sharply with sensational headlines that once defined her mother's fame and downfall. Ever-present curiosity. Finally, the day arrived. In her father's living room, surrounded by pastel walls, Dannielynn sat on a plush ottoman facing a single camera. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, no designer labels, no flashing logos, her choice signaling authenticity. As the rec light blinked, she inhaled deeply and began, unveiling family stories, revealing how she overcame whispers that her mother's death meant she'd collapse. Instead, she described mornings of meditation, afternoons lost in books, nights sharing giggles with Dad. She leaned forward, eyes bright, as she confessed that seeing her mother's portrait each morning reminded her of both an inheritance and a heavy responsibility. She spoke of butterflies, tiny winged messengers she believed connected them across worlds, and revealed a tattoo on her ankle, a delicate butterfly in flight. When asked about her dreams, she smiled and whispered of launching a cosmetics line and starting a clothing brand that champions authenticity over perfection. Her words? "I'm boldly getting started." Her voice shook slightly as she began to recount the first time she felt her mother's presence in the room. It happened one summer evening when she was 12, curled up on a living room couch reading a ghost story with her dog pressed against her side. A cool breeze swept through the window even though every pane was firmly closed, and she felt a soft brush at her ankle like a butterfly's wing. At first she thought it was the family dog wagging its tail until she looked down and saw nothing but the empty rug. A shiver ran up her spine, and she whispered, "Mom?" hoping it was just her imagination. Then the pages of her book fluttered as if caught in a sudden gust, stopping on a passage about a mother's protective spirit watching from beyond. She felt reassured, full of warmth despite the chill in the air, and she knew that her mother was letting her know she was never alone. That story set the tone for what would become a tapestry of small mysteries and comforting signs that Dannielynn shares today with a gentle smile. She describes subtle moments like hearing her mother's laughter in the wind, finding a single white feather on her pillow, or waking up to soft music that seemed to play only for her. With each anecdote, she pauses to look into the camera, eyes glistening with emotion, reminding viewers that grief and love are close companions. Her story then shifts to the public battles that overshadowed private pain, contrasting her father's fierce protection with the glare of paparazzi flashes. Larry, she explains, was her rock, negotiating legal maneuvers in high-stakes courtrooms while nurturing everyday routines at home. He shielded her from tabloid headlines that once painted her mother as a mere gold digger, translating complex documents into simple bedtime stories. She smiles, recalling how her father always reminded her that behind every sensational article lay a human being with hopes and heartbreak. Dannielynn's narrative pivots again to focus on school life, revealing how classmates navigated curiosity and empathy in equal measure. She confesses that gossip initially stung, whispers in hallways, questions about her twisted family tree, but that she found solace in close friends who saw her rather than the headlines. One friend, she recalls, organized a surprise butterfly-themed party on her 16th birthday, lace wings and all, to honor both her personal spirit and her mother's legacy. That gesture, more than any magazine spread, convinced her that she could weave her own identity from threads of compassion, resilience, and imagination. As she speaks of these formative years, a gentle piano melody underscores her words, a soundtrack to both grief and growth. The music swells momentarily, signaling a turning point as she transitions to her dreams for the future. She leans back, thoughtful, then outlines her plan for a forensic science scholarship, a tribute to her passion for uncovering truth. Next, she reveals her fascination with Japanese culture, describing afternoons spent practicing calligraphy and weekends hunting down rare manga volumes. She laughs softly as she admits that learning kanji felt like cracking a code, each character a clue to a hidden world. Her eyes shine when she talks about plans to mentor underprivileged students in these fields, ensuring that curiosity and opportunity belong to everyone. A soft exhale, then she reveals the moment everything clicked. Helping her father solve a small-town dispute using negotiation tactics she learned from mock trials. That moment crystallized her purpose. Combining empathy with analytical rigor, she decided, was the key to making a difference in the world. Her words linger on identity. She is not just Anna Nicole's daughter, but her own person. She shifts in her seat, sunlight filtering through a nearby window and casting a soft halo around her silhouette. People often ask me what it's like to carry a legacy, she begins, voice steady. But I choose to carry it lightly, as wings rather than weights. In that moment, she glances at a framed photograph on a side table. Anna Nicole smiling on a beach, carefree. The contrast between mother and daughter palpable. Where Anna's life veered between extremes of glamour and tragedy, Dannielynn's path is measured, intentional. Her fair skin, once thought destined for the flashbulb glow, now thrives in the quiet glow of academic ambition. She recalls the first time she walked onto a college campus for an open house, heart pounding with excitement and nerves. A security guard recognized her surname and whispered to a colleague. The moment felt heavy, and for a heartbeat she wondered if her mother's story would overshadow every introduction. But then a professor approached with genuine curiosity about her forensic thesis idea and not the tabloid gossip swirling online. That simple exchange ignited her belief that the future belonged to those who looked beyond headlines, who listened for truth in hushed corridors, not screaming bylines. Her narrative flows seamlessly into her philanthropic dreams. With a soft cadence, she describes setting up a foundation in memory of her brother Daniel, aimed at providing counseling and support for families affected by accidental overdoses. He was my first coach in life, she says, voice thick. And if his story can save just one family from unbearable loss, his legacy, our legacy, will be meaningful. A subtle pause. Then she leans forward to reveal her volunteer work at local shelters, mentoring teens who've experienced similar traumas. Each anecdote underscores her dedication to turning pain into purpose, a powerful contrast to wild parties and excess that once defined her mother's public image. The conversation shifts, with a gentle transition, into her relationship with social media. Contrary to expectation, she embraces the digital world, but on her own terms. Her Instagram feed features study tips alongside snapshots of forensic equipment and her weekly Japanese dialogue practice. She banishes algorithmic toxicity by curating a community rooted in learning and mutual support. I love that I can connect with someone in Tokyo over kanji brushstrokes, and then check in on a friend learning anatomy in Brazil, she explains. That's the beauty of technology. Then she recounts the first time paparazzi tried to ambush her at a cafe. She had been studying for finals, sipping green tea, when flashes erupted through the window. Her heart raced, but she calmly packed her books and stepped outside, addressing the intrusive lenses with a composed smile. Reporters bombarded her with questions, some cruel, some invasive, but she answered only with grace. "I'm just here to grow," she told them, and walked away. That composure crystallized for her the power of self-possession, a far cry from the sensational confrontations her mother endured. Next, she describes a summer internship at a major forensic lab. Under the mentorship of a veteran criminologist, she witnessed how tiny fibers and bone fragments can unravel complicated cases. It felt like detective work on a molecular level, she recalls, eyes bright. I knew then that my fascination with mysteries came from wanting to uncover hidden truths, both scientific and personal. That revelation led her to craft a personal manifesto. Seek clarity, champion compassion, stand firm in your own story. As the segment approaches its close, she turns reflective. The camera captures her silhouette against a twilight sky visible through the window. In measured tones, she reveals the biggest lesson she's learned. Life will always be more complicated than any tabloid can suggest. But complexity isn't chaos if you guide it with purpose. She pauses, letting those words settle before offering a final teaser. Up next, I'll share how I'm blending science, culture, and creativity to launch my first solo project, a venture that bridges my mother's flair for showmanship with my own pursuit of truth. Then she smiles, eyes twinkling, hinting at surprises to come. Dannielynn smiles, fingers tracing the rim of her teacup as she leans forward to describe her first solo venture, an immersive pop-up exhibit she's dubbed Truth and Transformation. In her own words, it's where science meets storytelling in a multi-sensory gallery experience. She envisions visitors donning lab coats as they move through interactive stations. One corner reveals real forensic samples under microscopes. Another showcases her custom-designed butterfly motifs rendered in Japanese ink. Walls lined with translucent screens project archival footage of her mother in mid-career glamour, juxtaposed with Dannielynn's own behind-the-scenes sketches of branding concepts. Every element is deliberate. Tactile displays of bone fragments, safe replicas, teach about identification methods, while adjacent digital installations invite guests to reconstruct a narrative from scattered clues. It's a blend of cold, clinical discovery and warm, emotional resonance, a contrast that mirrors Dannielynn's identity. She explains that months of collaboration went into crafting the exhibit's signature scent, a delicate floral base infused with cedarwood and a hint of jasmine tea. It's inspired by her afternoons practicing Japanese tea ceremonies in a cedar-walled room. As visitors pass through scent diffusers, they're meant to feel grounded before encountering more intense stimuli, like the sound of heartbeats amplified in a darkened hall, simulating an autopsy room's tension but infused with a subtle melodic undertone composed by her father. The goal, she says, is to teach respect for mortality while celebrating resilience. Guests leave not in shock, but with empathy elevated. They remember scientific lessons alongside personal revelations. Dannielynn's tone shifts when she mentions the philanthropic dimension. All ticket proceeds support her brother Daniel's foundation, which funds counseling for families grieving unexpected loss. She's partnered with school districts to provide guided tours for at-risk teens, using the exhibit to spark conversations about mental health and the importance of scientific literacy. Through this project, She weaves three strands of her life: her mother's flair for showmanship, her passion for forensic clarity, and her drive to heal communities torn by grief. Behind the scenes, Dannielynn recounts late nights drafting floor plans with holographic projections and negotiating with venue owners across 3 continents. Tokyo, Dubai, and Chicago are all on her list. She wanted the exhibit to transcend borders, just as language and science do. It matters, she explains, that someone in Osaka can witness the same butterfly-inspired installation as someone in Illinois. Each location will adapt to local contexts. Tokyo's version integrates anime-style infographics, while Chicago's include jazz-infused soundscapes behind each processing station. But the core message endures. Truth isn't cold or distant. It's layered and alive. She pauses to take a breath, then reveals a personal milestone. The exhibit's grand opening will feature a keynote presentation by a renowned forensic pathologist she admires. That expert will stand beside her, sharing case studies before inviting attendees to explore the exhibit's lessons firsthand. In her excitement, Dannielynn admits she felt nervous contacting him, worried she might seem presumptuous. Yet when she explained her vision, an intersection of science, art, and healing, he signed on without hesitation. His belief in her project reaffirmed what she's known all along. When purpose is clear, boundaries dissolve. As the camera pans to a mock-up rendering on a laptop screen, she highlights color-coded zones. The Discovery Wing, bathed in cool blues. The Reflection Hall, awash in rose gold light. The Transformation Alcove, where visitors seal their own symbolic messages in amber-tinted glass tubes. There, guests can write letters to loved ones lost, then peer through magnifying lenses to witness how sunlight dances across each sealed tribute. The experience is designed to close the circle, from scientific probing to emotional closure, reinforcing her mantra: complexity with compassion. Dannielynn's final flourish is a glimpse at custom-designed merchandise. Minimalist lab notebooks embossed with butterfly insignias, delicate silk scarves printed with layered forensic sketches, and sustainable tote bags featuring Japanese calligraphy of the phrase "Seek Clarity." She smiles as she teases an exclusive pre-launch code for viewers, an intimate invitation to an opening night preview. Then, with a confident nod, she concludes, "This exhibit is my way of honoring the past while forging my own path, one that bridges hearts and minds." As the exhibit's opening night approaches, anticipation hums through every fiber of Dannielynn's being. She rises before dawn to review final checklists, her journal splayed open on a glass-topped desk. Each bullet point, LED calibration, scent diffuser refill, welcome speech draft, feels like a stepping stone across a river of possibility. Her father, Larry, brings her coffee in a travel mug etched with a butterfly, nodding encouragement as she reads through her prepared remarks one last time. "You've got this," he says softly, hand on her shoulder. In that moment, the weight of her mother's shadow feels less daunting. Instead, she senses the pulse of a legacy being steered towards something new. In the exhibit hall, technicians whisper about diffuser nozzles and projector placements, while floral arrangers settle clusters of jasmine sprigs into waiting vases. A scent reminiscent of her first Japanese tea ceremony fades into the background as blueprints for interactive stations flash across tablet screens in neon highlights. Every soundscape cue, heartbeat samples, wind chimes, whispered testimonies, awaits synchronization. Witnessing this orchestrated dance, Dannielynn marvels at how a teenage fascination with forensic microscopes has now blossomed into a full-scale production. The contrast between sterile lab connotations and the emotive power of art jolts her creativity into overdrive. Ahead of the ribbon-cutting ceremony, she steps onto the mezzanine overlooking the main gallery floor. Below, invited guests, scientists, artists, philanthropists, and a few curious teenagers from her late brother's foundation mingle under soft rose gold lighting. At the gallery entrance, a life-size portrait of Nicole Smith stands framed beside a minimalist display, a single white feather encased in glass, symbolizing the first comforting sign that guided Dannielynn through grief. It serves as a threshold between old narratives and the fresh stories unfolding inside these walls. As dusk yields to event lights, a soft hum of excitement ripples through the crowd. Music composed by her father begins, weaving cello tones with forensic data click tracks, a subtle auditory nod to the exhibit's dual heartbeats, science and sentiment. Dannielynn approaches a sleek podium, smiling as she smooths the lapel of her tailored blazer. She surveys the faces before her, some familiar, many new, and recalls her earliest tests in mock trials and Japanese language drills. Now she stands ready to connect worlds. "Welcome," she begins, voice resonant with calm authority. "Tonight, we honor curiosity, we honor memory, and we honor transformation." Her words flow like a measured investigation, guiding listeners through the exhibit's corridors of discovery. She speaks of her brother Daniel, her mother Nicole, and the invisible threads that bind legacy and purpose. "We often think of truth as a cold resolution," she explains, "but truth warmed by compassion can heal even the deepest wounds." As applause ripples through the room, she catches her father's eye and offers a grateful nod. Following her address, the crowd disperses to explore. Dannielynn circulates in quiet moments, observing gasps of wonder as visitors peer into forensic microscopes, trace butterfly sketches with fingertip scans, and seal personal tributes in amber-lit alcoves. One attendee, a forensic anthropology professor, remarks on the exhibit's ingenuity, while a young art student tears up at a video montage displaying personal letters from families helped by Daniel's foundation. These reactions validate her vision. Complexity can coexist with compassion, and science can be both illuminating and tender. Later, beneath a marquee announcing "Truth and Transformation," opening night, a small reception area overflows with laughter and light conversation. Dannielynn sips herbal tea, listening to anecdotes shared by guests who met her mother decades ago, people who offer both respect and curiosity about her personal journey. She laughs as someone playfully asks if she's inherited Anna's trademark wit. She replies that she's still crafting her own sense of humor, one steeped in self-awareness and subtle irony rather than tabloid scandal. By midnight, the exhibit lights dim and the last guests file out, leaving behind soft murmurs of admiration. Dannielynn stands alone in the central gallery, the scent of jasmine and cedarwood drifting around her. She traces her finger across a glass case holding her mother's silk gown, a relic of Hollywood's glittering past, contrasting it with her own lab coat draped neatly on an adjacent mannequin. In this silent tableau, she feels a profound sense of arrival, a fusion of past and present, a bridge between senses and science, grief and hope. Pulling out her phone, she records a brief message for her online community. "Thank you for believing in me. This is just the beginning." A smile curves across her face as she uploads it, knowing that every step taken here tonight ripples outward. With tomorrow's sunlight, she'll welcome school groups, launch a virtual tour for global audiences, and continue expanding truth and transformation to new horizons. And through it all, she carries her mother's name gently, like wings poised to soar. Morning light filtered through gauzy curtains as Dannielynn rose before dawn, restless excitement echoing from opening night success. The city outside stirred awake. It mirrored her own determination to keep moving forward rather than linger in triumph. She brewed green tea in her favorite porcelain cup, inhaling the familiar scent of jasmine and cedarwood, then settled at her desk to review upcoming commitments. Press interviews, school visits, and a virtual panel for international students filled her calendar, each invitation a reminder that her voice now carried weight beyond personal memoirs. After a quick breakfast, she slipped on her lab coat, now a symbol more potent than any designer dress, and pinned a small butterfly brooch at the lapel's edge. It served as both tribute and talisman, uniting memories of her mother's flair with her own scientific pursuits. Stepping onto the exhibit floor, she was greeted by the hum of early visitors. A group of forensic undergraduates armed with notebooks, wide-eyed art students sketching the translucent screens, and journalists scribbling notes. Though yesterday's gala glitz had faded, today's gallery bore a quiet vitality. Conversation melded with clicks of microscopes and soft piano melodies, creating an atmosphere of curiosity and contemplation. Hands clasped behind her back, Dannielynn led a guided tour for a classroom of local teens. She pointed out how the Discovery Wing, showcased real-world case studies, and invited them to test their own deductive skills by matching simulated fibers. Her voice brimmed with warmth as she explained how forensic science allowed hush-quiet details, hair fragments, soil samples, to speak volumes. She paused at the reflection hall, where letters in amber-tinted tubes caught sunlight like precious artifacts. One student, voice trembling, confided that her letter was meant for a brother she'd lost. Dannielynn listened with open empathy, sharing how transformative it felt to channel empathy into inquiry rather than dread. Later, nestled in a corner of the transformation alcove, she answered rapid-fire questions about launching a cosmetics line with ethically sourced ingredients modeled after forensic pigments. She laughed as a young entrepreneur quipped that makeup inspired by chromatography strips sounded edgy yet authentic. These small exchanges felt pivotal. Each query underscored that blending creativity with science could resonate across industries. She sketched tentative plans for the makeup line's packaging in the margins of her notebook, a swirling butterfly overlay on a minimalist white background. The tagline, "Reveal your truth," elegantly scripted beneath. By midday, she retreated to a quiet office to join an online panel of international students passionate about Japanese culture. From Tokyo, a shy freshman asked for advice on mastering calligraphy. From Sao Paulo, a teenager marveled at how Dannielynn linked forensic logic with language mastery. She shared study techniques, breaking kanji into radicals like clues in a case file, and encouraged participants to forge interdisciplinary paths. Your unique combination of interests, she told them, will become your greatest asset. Seek clarity in every pursuit, and let compassion guide your discoveries. In the afternoon sun, she took a reflective walk through a nearby park. Beneath cherry blossoms just beginning to bloom, she paused to examine petals drifting on a gentle breeze. The sight brought back her earliest memory of identifying butterfly wing patterns in entomology class, another moment when love for detail transcended mere observation. She closed her eyes, picturing her mother's radiant smile on that Florida beach portrait, then refocused on the path ahead. Life, she reminded herself, was a sequence of investigations, each chapter demanding careful observation, empathy, and resolve. Returning home, she drafted a heartfelt message to her online community, thanking them for supporting truth and transformation and teasing the next installment, a documentary series exploring cold cases solved through forensic innovation. She typed with deliberate care, aware that every word could inspire emerging scientists or offer solace to someone grappling with loss. Hitting send, she felt the familiar flutter of anticipation, proof that her story was catalyzing broader conversations. As dusk descended, Dannielynn lit a single candle beside her mother's framed portrait and whispered gratitude for both heritage and hard-fought independence. She reflected on how far she'd come since childhood uncertainties and tabloid shadows. Now, at 18, her narrative pulsed with authenticity, an evolving mosaic of discovery, compassion, and creativity. In the flickering light, she reaffirmed her guiding mantra: complexity is never chaos when steered by purpose. With tomorrow's dawn, she would continue bridging disparate worlds, science and art, past and future, while forging an identity that soared on gentle wings rather than weighed on old headlines.